أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين شفيع ذنوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وحبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين وأصحابه المنتجبين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى قيام يوم الدين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أما بعد، السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمسابنا بأبي Abdulhussain alayhi salatu wassalam. So we are talking about surrender and return to God, and that return is in the state of peace and rest. Now, we said we need to surrender ourselves in order to find peace and to find rest. But it is in both ways. Surrender is prior to finding peace, and surrender is subsequent to finding that inner rest. We also stated, how do we give away something to God, and how do we surrender, and what do we surrender to God? After all, we do not have anything that is ours. So what do we need to give away? We just shared there that what we feel we are, that is what needs to be given away. For that is falsity. There is nothing true about us. Everything we imagine about ourselves is not ourselves. Do you see? We spend a lifetime trying to retain ourselves, our identity. We fight for what we believe in. It's not wrong to fight for what you believe in, so long as it is something noble. We might go through that. But we compete against each other to sustain this being. We are arrogant, we are boastful, we take pride. All of these things are born out of our misconception of who we are. You see, we feel we are man, we are women, we are Muslims, we are rich, we are young, we are old, we have ethnicity, we are the chosen ones of God, we are the ones who are given salvation. This is nothing other than that falsity that we carry with us. This needs to be relented. We need to give this away. Now we will talk about it today, that all the negative traits that we consider negative are in fact opportunities, but they take birth through this false sense of self. Now we said we need to give that away. And this is what the Sufi masters say. They say, polish the mirror of your heart so that the beloved is reflected within you. What do they mean? What they mean is, whatever is being reflected in there is false. If you remove that reflection by polishing it, the truth will be reflected. Now this gives an impression, and this is not what they mean. This gives an impression of removal of the self. It is not a question of removal of the self. It's a question of directing the self and directing its completion through God. How? You see, as children, we take birth. We don't have clean slates. There is no child that takes birth with a clean slate. The souls are neutral, yes, but the souls also operate through the gray matter. And this gray matter is filled with things. A psychopath is a person who does not have a part of the brain fully active as a non-psychopath. They have deficiency of blood in certain area of their brain, and hence they lack empathy. It is not the soul that is lacking the empathy. It is what the soul interacts with the world through. That is lacking empathy. It has nothing to do with the soul. So in that sense, the soul is born in neutrality, but the soul has all types of inclinations and aptitudes. You see this earlier on in the life of our little children. You see one is very calm in their disposition. The other one is very, very agitated. That is not the story of the soul. That is the story of the mold in which the soul is operating. Then we go back to our crude analogy. That is the virtual reality in which the baby begins to awaken. It doesn't know any better. It hasn't taken on virtual goggles and put it upon its eyes. It has awoken already wearing them. So every child has different aptitude. Now, why are there different aptitudes? Where do they come from? In order to find response for that, we will have to invoke a pre-world life, which we will not do here because that is a lengthy discussion. But we all come with differing aptitudes within us. Now, those differing aptitudes that we have, we will associate ourselves with them. We will say that this forms the core of my identity, and that is the beginning of the false identity. Now the Quran says, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. Successful is the one who purifies it. وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. And at loss is the one who tarnishes it. Purifies what and tarnishes what? Purifies the soul. وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا. And the soul and the one who has balanced it. So the purification of the soul is not by removal of the dirt. It's not as simple as that. Otherwise, what is the purpose of having that filth there? Can you see that? And the one who tarnishes it is at a state of a loss. So immediately what this verse is saying to us is that there are inclinations within you. If you can understand it carefully and you can use them accurately, then you are in a state of success. And we want to talk about this slowly and gradually today. And if you persist within the illusory reality, for which there is a deep sense of why it should be that way, then of course you are condemned. So a seed asks about its own destiny. We can say, well, I don't know what is buried deep inside your chest. I don't know. You may either turn into a fruit-bearing tree, or you may either turn into a weed. Time will tell. There will be circumstances in your life that will prompt you to reveal yourself, and you will reveal yourself accordingly. But our story is not fixed like the story of the seed. We will talk about that tomorrow. There is destiny that is fixed, and that is the destiny of the body. That is a destiny that is in the making, and that is the destiny of the consciousness and of the soul. But the seed's destiny is made. Our destiny is in the making. We have full potential. The soul is in a state of neutrality. It has inclinations everywhere. Now the Prophet, according to obviously our Sufi literature, and Naraki quotes this in Jami al-Sa'adat, that the Prophet said to a person drawing a circle around him, maybe it was expressed in that way by the reporter, and he drew lines towards that circle. He said, 199 lines that come to you are from Shaitan. One that comes to you is from the angel. Now here you can imagine, the Prophet is not talking about a merciless God who has placed Shaitan upon us, that he is there to misguide you at all times. No. He was talking about something quite profound, that all these lines that are coming to you that are Shaitan and demonic, if you tend to them, then of course you will have a hard time. You will not find that peace or that rest. But if you can understand them as opportunities, then every one of those 99 lines are means for your growth. And we want to discuss that now. So it's not a question of polishing the soul by removal of things. It is a question of converting all those inclinations and potentials and predisposed states to their opposites. That is the question. And at every point, the world is engineered in a way to awaken us to what is going on within us. You see, we become at times complacent with ourselves and the way we are, and we forget what is going on. So for example, the Madanian community, the Madanese community, They went to receive the oncoming forces of the Meccans at the mountain of Uhud. Now, their idea was, well, we have reverted to Islam. We have a God who is mighty. He cannot be defeated. So their understanding of God here was a very paganistic understanding, that the one who has the strongest God is the victor. And of course, in Badr, a small army of the Muslims vanquished a mighty army of the Meccans. And the Quran says, look, there are 3,000 angels coming and now 5,000 coming. When they heard that the Prophet has died, they ran. In the running, they went to Abu Sufyan, some of them, well, many of them. And they said, let us embrace your religion once again and come into the worship of the goddesses of Makkah and spare us our lives. Now, of course, it was made clear that the Prophet has not died. Now, what that event did was, it revealed to them their inadequacies. Can you see that? It showed them that this is where you are. This is where your soul is. Even being with God in the folds of Islam, this is where your truth is. Your truth is not God-centered. Your truth is other than God. You are still very body-oriented. You want the safety and the security of this world and of this body. You haven't understood the message that the Prophet is giving. Neither have you understood that there is a God who is all eternal, all embracing. You are still hell-bent upon this world. Even if you have acknowledged with your tongues and understood with your minds, your hearts have not surrendered. Now, what happened at that point? What happened at that point? Were they cursing themselves? Yes. Were they remorseful? Yes. What happened after that? You see, this is the remarkable thing that happens before we arrive towards contentment. They did not shun themselves simply. What they did was, they actively now digested the message from the cores of their beings. They said, you know what? We will go forward, even if the army is 10 times as great as we are, even if we are killed. What they did was, they converted their distrust into trust. Now they are more fuller, as opposed to not knowing what distrust means. They've got the hindsight of understanding what distrust in God means, and now they know the meaning of trust. Now they have converted their fear into fearlessness. How? Not by saying that Allah will kill our opponents and enemies, but by saying that we will embrace the destiny of God even if that comes upon us. They are conquering their fear, not through prayers that, oh Allah, dispel death from us, but by saying, oh Allah, allow us to embrace death. So polishing the heart does not mean removal of those negative qualities. No, it's to convert and direct those negative qualities into their opposites. When a person can do that, that is the time when the soul becomes fulfilled. And the reflection does not mean that God stands in front of our hearts and we just begin to reflect God. No! Reflection means the emergence of the image from within. There is an image within you, the image of the divine. That image has been covered up by your false sense of I and your identity. If you let that go, your false sense, by converting it, by reverting it to its fuller opposite self, then the image of God reflects through you. Imagine what a status a person has who amidst danger stands with firm conviction that I will not bow, I will not give up, I am a warrior till the last breath. I will sail the ship to its shores of safety or be killed in its attempt. Imagine that person. That was Hussain. The way he inspires souls generation after generation after generation. Do you not see? as opposed to somebody who passively gives themselves to that. Can you not see this? A generous man will not be one truly who has billions and gives millions, but a generous man, by God, is one who has no more than his meal, but prefers another. Trusting in the decree of God that if you decree me to live, you will pass me the morsel owed to me by this world and due to me. And if you do not decree me to live, then this is my last morsel and I have eaten it. That is generosity, isn't it? What is generosity? And do you know how much the wealth of this world is worth? Let me tell you. Then I've already told you before as well, by the way. That's a nice way to say it. Let me tell you. I'm becoming a bit of a dictator here, aren't I? I think it's all this watching Netanyahu go on about what he is like in Mr. Trump. You better start watching something better. Do you know the worth and the value of money? Do you know what it is? I met with a person from Australia. He's a lovely man. And he said, we were sitting, tired, fatigued, hungry, walking between Muzdalifah to Mina. And of course, before sunrise, you can't cross over into Mina. And you know that treacherous walk, all of you, right? I escort the women at night, by the way. After doing it for a few years, I said, nah, you guys be happy with your striving in the way of God. I'm going at night. He said, the day broke, but we were so tired, we couldn't move. He said, then the Indonesians came, and other groups came. They saw us, and they gave us their scraps of bread, and we ate them. They gave us their sachets of juice, and we drank them. He said, I looked around. He said, here, these are 10 people who are worth in excess of $5 billion. And today, our state is that these are our mohsin. They are doing ihsan upon us, favor upon us, by giving us a piece of bread and taking pity upon us and giving us their cartons of juice and sacrificing it. That is the worth of money for you. If a person is in the desert, dying of thirst, you give him a glass of water, he will give you his billion. Think about it from a worldly perspective. My billion, I'll die. What will happen to it? It'll go to waste. I'm not going to enjoy it. I might as well live and have some more life. That is the worth of money. But it is our false sense of world, false sense of existence that wants to fuel itself. Now, contentment is not, as I said, giving away these things. It's to convert them. To know through God that I trust my Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you know, when the Jewish people were taken into the gas chambers by the Nazis, so you find these stories. You actually find these stories, and they are heart-wrenching stories. Yes, and you know, God bless the souls that have died there. So a person said, he said, I was young and I was very scared. Another man came and he said, look, I'm going to go after you. You know, I'll take your place. You go. Now, as it happened, the man who took his place died and the other one lived. That's what you call generosity. Trust in God, although I don't know what his sentiment was, but I'm saying that's what you call generosity. Generosity is not when you don't know what giving means. Now, you see this state of ours that we are in. Don't ask me why. It's so firm within our minds. And why we want to reinforce it constantly. Maybe we've made a pact with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and that is the way things are to be. And for us to awaken finally. But look at our point, our level of deception as we work towards it. You see, even if there is nothing to worry about, we will find something to worry about. Can you see this? Can you see the falsity in which we are? If I'm called to court after a week, even though I can't represent myself because a barrister is representing me, but the prospect of me losing the case and being made penniless, what will happen? The 7 days leading up to it, I will make myself restless. My night's sleep will go. I will have no peace. And what will I do? I will make the intention of going to Hajj, Umrah, Ziyarat, feeding the poor, doing this, doing that. For 1 week I'll be good. At least there's some good effect that comes out of it. But what would a man of God do? He says, oh Allah, you gave the wealth, you'll take it away. What's the big deal? Can you see that? A man of God will say that. Hussain will say, Allah, you looked after me in the womb of my mother when I couldn't even understand anything. Will you abandon me if you awaken me tomorrow? Will you abandon me if you give me life? Surely you look after me. But look at the falsity in which we live. If somebody is condemned to death in 7 days' time, they will kill themselves every minute from the time the sentence is passed. You're going to die after 7 days, and your God can take you before those 7 days. Don't you have that faith? And you're killing yourself in every minute. Why don't you use it profitably? Be good to everybody for the next 7 days. Rejoice, meet everybody, laugh, leave good memories. You're going to die anyway. But that's the falsity in which we live, and it's so embracing. And the amazing thing is, and I don't know whether to give these examples or not, or build on the topic, seriously, our language is a form of captivity. Nothing about us is real. Even the way we think is captivity. We can't think beyond slavery. Think about it. We construct a language, then we follow the rules of the language, and therefore we can't think beyond the language, can we? And that is why the Urafaa have such hard time explaining to the philosophers. Because the philosophers only understand within a rational language. And the poor philosophers or Urafaa trying to explain the philosophers about the reality, they end up becoming philosophers as well and losing reality. You can't even talk of concepts that are real because language binds us. When you talk of freedom, there is already a meaning of freedom in your mind. When you talk about God, there's already a meaning of God in your mind. Can't you see this? You can't even talk about God properly because as soon as you say God, everybody entertains a notion. And all their notions are different. It's a very false world. Surrendering means also surrendering the mind. But in any case, that is another issue we'll get to. But at an emotional level as well. Imagine how enslaved we are. We want to perpetuate those negative emotions because somehow they reaffirm our sense of identity. He says some of our identities are in opposition, aren't they? In opposition to the other. That other makes me who I am. So my life will be spent in opposition of the other. And my life has not been led at all. Can you not see Sunni Shias, how they hate each other, those of them who hate each other? Their whole identity is based on that. Or the ceremonies of Muharram, of Matam, of weeping. The whole identity is based on that. Even though it's something noble, but it becomes a form of captivity. Even those people who pray every prayer and do every amal and read every dua, those duas have become a form of captivity, not releasing them, reinforcing the false self. All of it is a falsity through which we need to emerge. So contentment and return comes not by removal, but by conversion. If we can convert them, then indeed, we become content. And contentment means what? It does not mean we are meeting with God. Contentment means we have found ourselves. And finding ourselves means what? Allah finding His self through us. Because we were never there. We were never there. There is a book that is attributed to Imam Sadiq, although it's more than likely the works of the Sufi masters. They talk about this relationship as a mirror, the relationship of the creature with the Lord. And we need to create that relationship of the Lord and come to it in a little while. There's a relationship of reflection, but not reflection of an image. Reflection of the actual and the potential. So it says, servanthood is an essence. The core reality of that essence is lordship. Whatever is hidden within servanthood is found within lordship. So think about it. In my greed is hidden generosity. What do? I turn to Allah and say, "Oh Allah, relieve me of this state. Give me that security through you, that I may relieve my soul of its strait of lack of security in terms of wealth. Allow me to give even when I have nothing, knowing that you are my treasure." So what is lacking in me is found in Him. Can you see that? And what is hidden in Him, the next line, is attained in you, in the servant. So that greed, insecurity, it yields its opposite, generosity. And when we can arrive at that point of having that very firm relationship with God, we turn to God and we say, "Oh Allah, I have this insecurity. Allow me through you to remove this insecurity. Bring your generosity to my soul so that I may overpower my greed and my insecurity. In me is a fear. In Him there is completion of strength and control. Oh Lord, allow me to embrace the lack of control, trusting your ability to control. And let me lose control, O Lord, so that that fear of lack of control may leave my soul." So what happens is that when we turn to God, when the soul turns to God, God begins to fulfill the lack, and the lack is directed. And in that way, the lack becomes a grand opportunity and a potential for its opposite. You see, how do you lose fear? How? You can never lose fear. The only way to lose fear is to embrace your destiny. That's it. I heard this from an Ismaili motivational speaker. He said there was a king conquering all villages. He went to a village. There was a fort, and must have been more villages don't have forts and castles, do they? Obviously, he went to a land with a castle. So he said, "Surrender, I'll kill you." So the king said, "Neither will we surrender, and nor will you be able to be the victor." He said, "How so?" He said, "Watch." He said to his guard, "Fall from your post." He fell to his death. He said to the other one, "Fall." He fell. He said to the third one, "Fall." He's the one who wanted to conquer. He said, "I leave you with peace." Can you see that? They had overpowered their fear of death. They said, "No, every last one of us will die fighting. You will not conquer us. You will have an empty castle to reign upon." He said, "You cannot defeat one who has lost his fear." The best way to relieve the soul of fear is to embrace destiny. But how can you embrace destiny when you feel you are this? Can you see that? Now let's look at this particular scenario. There are many things we will talk about afterwards. Let's talk about this scenario, shall we? We worship God. Why do we worship God? Is it because we want that fulfillment and completion through God? giving up our lack and converting this lack into completion, where the beloved emerges from within us, and when there is all nothing but peace, because the truth has found itself being pleased and pleased with. It's one and the same thing. Being pleased with him and he pleased with you. It's the same thing. It's one question, one talking from one side, the same one replying from the other side. It's the same thing. Am I devoted to God in the same way of finding inner peace and contentment and surrender? There is a simple question that will respond to this. Are you ready to go inside hell? If the answer is no, then it shows that the soul is still not in the folds of contentment. Will you still be pleased with God if you worship Him all your life and He decides to throw you in hell? If the answer is no, then we still haven't found our truth. So I read a hadith. Even on the day of Qiyamah, God will summon His creatures and He will say, you proclaim that you love me. The creatures will say yes. And you will do anything that I say. The creatures will say yes. God will say, I ask you for your love for me, through your love for me, go and fall within hell. And this creature will say no. Of course, God will not push anybody into hell. God's job is to extinguish the fire of hell, not to burn people. But that is telling that is that journey taking place in there? Really? Think about us. Just one or two more things. You know, we are so preoccupied with this false, illusory world. We have forgotten that there is a God who has engineered this for us. We have forgotten we come from a place in which we have made pacts. We have forgotten that we have invited these people into our lives. And on that note, you have invited me upon this pulpit to lecture to you, okay? So be happy with your decree and destiny. We forget that all these circumstances are put here for a reason, and that reason is for us to arrive at beauty untarnished, at a reward beyond which there is no reward. It is well beyond any paradise you can imagine. What do we do instead? What do we do instead? We spend the entirety of our lives trying to change our destiny and being discontent with it and becoming miserable. I don't have children. Trust in Allah. If He gives you a child, He will. If He doesn't give you a child, be happy with Him. But why spend 20 years killing yourself from within? Maybe that was your unique path to grow towards contentment and towards God. Can you see that? I don't have the recognition I wanted. You wanted to grow to God by saying to Him, oh Allah, if you recognize me, that's all that matters. And so Allah has taken away recognition from you. I am poor, but you wanted to be wealthy through God. That's the pact you made. So Allah has removed the kingdom of Solomon from you so that you might find your treasure unending in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Be happy with it and use it instead of crying over poverty. Make that poverty into an ending wealth yourself. I am sick. Your sickness is health, if only you knew. I am dying. Your death is life. I am without helpers. You are the strongest one, if only you could understand. You have the pillar beyond which there is no pillar. I am lonely. You have a friend beyond whom there is no friend. I am in darkness. But you have the light like which no one has. Can you see this? In a world of illusion, we have become beguiled by this illusion. Everything about us is slavish. Yet Allah says in the Quran, I have kept signs for you, awaken. Everything is a sign, awaken. This is not a true world. In any case, do you not see the story of the Blessed Prophet? And of course, these are maybe expressing those deep sentiments. Every time I say this is a hadith, now I'm scared because somebody will say this is weak hadith. So I have to say it expresses a sentiment that is accurate nonetheless, right? I was all for educating the community, but now after they've become educated, I'm thinking maybe if they were not educated, it would have made life easier for me. So in any case, there is a hadith which might not be a hadith but expresses a sentiment. The Prophet was at the Kaaba. His uncle threw the intestines of a sheep upon him. And the Prophet was hungry and hadn't eaten for days. The heavens trembled. Gabriel descended. He said, "O Muhammad, God hands you the keys to His treasury. Starve no more. Eat, rejoice, and God will not diminish any of your reward due to you through your hunger." His eyes teared, and he said, "Gabriel, take it away. The day in which He feeds me, I will thank Him. The day in which He prevents food, deprives me, I will persevere. For I do not want to think, even for the blinking of an eye, that I can control my own affairs." Think about the sentiment of the Prophet. If you give me the treasuries of the heaven, I will become filled with confidence that I can control my own destiny. And that will remove me from the truth, which is my God, that He is the one who controls all things. That is the state in which the Blessed Prophet was. Now we come to those from whom everything is removed. And as it is removed, they are giving it all away. And as they are giving it all away, they are growing in godliness. Now you find Zainab, as grand as she is, she has a weakness. And her weakness is her Hussain. We find these descriptions that when in Karbala she saw the armies gathering, she would go to Hussain and say, "Oh brother, do you not have anyone you can call upon?" She would say, "Oh, who, my sister?" She would say, "Habib ibn Madahir, your childhood friend. Hani ibn Urwa, and other people that you have. Call them." Muslim ibn Awsaja, Hani had been martyred. Muslim ibn Awsaja, call them. On the night of Ashura, she is filled with fear that the companions of Hussein might leave him. Test their resolve, O Hussein. On the day of Ashura, she says to her children, "Do you prefer your lives over the life of my brother Hussein?" At his final farewell, she walks behind him. She says, "O Hussein, pause. Let me behold your face one last time." Unable to live without her Hussein, as Hussein goes, "O Hussein, come back to me frequently so I may know you are still alive." We hear this, that Imam Hussein came back to the tents 3 times and cried out, "La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah." And every time he would cry this out, she would find solace and comfort in her soul. And then there was a long patch in which she did not hear from her brother. She runs towards the hill, looks down, screams, "Is there no one who will save my brother? Will you watch while he is being beheaded?" Finding no response, bewildered, she runs back to Sajjad to awaken him. "Take news of your father." There is a call, "Ala kad qutila al-Hussein." He has been slaughtered. The sister slaps her face. Her grief is unbearable. She comes to a point where they are being taken where the body of Hussain lies barren, discarded upon the dust. Kulthum from afar looks at the body of Hussain, inadvertently turns towards Medina. Blessed are you, O grandfather within the heavens. Come to Karbala and observe the scene that I see with my eyes. Is this not the one who rode upon your shoulders? Is he not the one whose lips you adorned with your kisses? O grandfather, observe how he lies without a head to his body. O grandfather, look at how his body has been torn to pieces. Zainab descends upon the body, and the first thing she does is she composes herself, looks towards the sky, and says, "Oh Allah, accept this offering from your Zainab."